Mara has served as a state leader of Amnesty International and president of the Arkansas ACLU. She's received many honors, including being named Arkansas Journalist of the Year for her investigative reporting and Arkansas Abolitionist of the Year for her work opposing the death penalty. She's the author of 2 books, The Boys on the Tracks, about public corruption in Saline County, and most famously, The Devil's Knot, about the trials of the men who would come to know as the West Memphis Three. Leveritt continues to write about that case and is a leader in the movement seeking new trials for the men. Mara, thank you.
Such a distinguished panel. My own qualifications here are mainly that I've been hanging around this issue for a long time. I can remember 25 years or longer ago that I was invited to speak to the Little Rock Rotary 99 downtown, very prominent group, and I said that I thought that the day would come when we would have so many people in prison because our drug laws were getting so severe and the sentences so long that we would be having to make choices between education and prisons, and between roads and prisons, and all of the other state services and prisons. And I went on to mention that I thought that probably changing drug laws was going to be eventually necessitated by economics. I was almost pelted with what was left on people's plates after that lunch. The audience was so disturbed by such a suggestion. But recently, I have attended a meeting with several legislators and county judges, circuit court judges, and Department of Correction officials, Department of Community Punishment officials, where exactly that has been talked about. Governor Beebe has appointed a commission to look at how we can start getting people out of prison because there are simply too many. We can't afford it anymore. And the main item on the table, which you could just tell people were almost afraid to utter the words, was maybe we should stop, maybe we need to decriminalize marijuana. Maybe we have to look at the drug laws. It was a very tentative kind of a discussion, but there was no disagreement. Everybody knew that this is the giant in the room that has to be addressed. At that meeting, I heard for the first time, and I have since heard it several more times, what I think is going to become the mantra of this sea change that is going to have to take place in order to make it palatable to the public, and that is we've got to start putting people in prison who we're afraid of, not the people we're just mad at. I bet that before the year is out, everyone in this room, if you haven't already heard it, is going to hear somebody saying that when this subject comes up. So we're going to get a lot of people out of prison. A lot of people in prison are getting out, and more are going to be coming out. And what happens to them when they come out? The National Employment Law Project says that 1 in 5 Americans right now, and the number may be higher, has got some kind of criminal record that shows up on an employment check, an employment background check. That is a big, big handicap to anybody who's getting out and trying to get a job. In 2004, the Legal Action Center put out a position paper, a white paper called Barriers to Reentry, about what goes on, what do people face when they are trying to get out of prison. They started that paper with a quotation that could not sum up the matter better. It was a quote from an inmate who had gotten out of prison And he was imprisoned in Texas. He was released in 1994. His name was Tracy Andrus, and this is what he said. I've encountered brick walls because of my conviction. Felons are denied school loans, the right to live in projects. There are many licenses we can't obtain. We are punished for the rest of our lives despite having served our time. Punishment is what we're all about. We've got the Department of Correction, but we've got community punishment. The other name, I was around when that department was established under Jim Guy Decker. Other names were bandied about, but it was felt that it was important to put punishment in there. It's such a strong part of what the ethos of running our prisons. But as Dr. Kilt suggests, it's not exactly working for us. We punish in prison and we keep on punishing when prisoners get out. And that ends up punishing everybody else. It keeps on kicking us. Everybody. It punishes families of inmates, children, the ones who are coming up, the next generation, who are not getting adequate everything because of the increased stresses on families of people who have come out of prison. And their numbers are legion. In 2009, last year, the Legal Action Center issued an update on its white paper in which they looked at 7 different categories of areas where inmates encounter these kinds of roadblocks when they get out of prison. And they did it by state, fortunately. They graded each state based on the number of problems that inmates encounter. I thought we might be interested in how Arkansas stood on those. In the area of employment, in each of one of these 7 categories, they had a possible 10 being the worst that you could get. We got a 6 out of 10 because private employers can ask anyone that they are considering hiring about whether they have ever been arrested, whether or not they've ever been convicted, and the person must give an answer. Public and private employers may refuse to hire anyone with a criminal record, regardless of their qualifications. Occupational licensing authorities may consider most misdemeanor convictions or even annulled, pardoned, or expunged convictions. There is no opportunity in this state, according to the center, for people with criminal records to obtain restoration of civil rights or certificates of rehabilitation for purposes of employment. And that is something that other states do provide. So we didn't do so well in that category. In terms of public assistance and food stamps, these can be denied to anyone convicted of a felony drug offense as long as there was any element of distribution or manufacture involved. And we should add that although this is Arkansas's assessment here, some of these things are tied to federal dollars, and there we have to abide by federal restrictions, and often they are even more harsh with regard to particularly these types of programs than states would on their own. With regard to having access to criminal records so that you can refute, for instance, anything that's on there, we're pretty good. We only rated a 2 out of the 10. With regard to voting rights, we were given a 5 out of 10 because persons incarcerated or serving probation or parole simply cannot vote. I don't know what was there that ameliorated that. The Little Rock Public Housing Authority makes it individuals it makes it individual eligibility determination, which is a good thing. So people who apply for public housing can be assessed individually, but they may consider arrests that never led to convictions, and that's a bad thing. With regard to adoption and foster parenting, we got a very good 0 because, again, applicants are assessed individually, but and evidence of rehabilitation is considered. This is one of the few places where that happens, and it's something that could be done across the board. With regard to driver's licenses, a 4 out of 10, because licenses are automatically revoked or suspended for up to 6 months when an individual is convicted of a drug offense, whether or not it's related to driving. On the other hand, those people who have their licenses revoked do have the opportunity to obtain families. They have little opportunity to regain the dignity of a citizen, which should be restored to them if actually we mean that when you pay the price, when you have served the time and paid the price, that you have now completed the sentence.